Okay, so here's our August update. Our flower corns obviously got pretty tall, but unfortunately it's tasseling already and it still hasn't reached a lot of height. So we might not get much off of that if anything. Thankfully I still have lots of seed. We have our trees are well established so far. We got some more to transplant and some little baby plums to move, but we've got the apricots are doing really beautiful, and because we have two kinds, they should be a lot better, because even though they're self-pollinating, they do better when you have more than two different types, names, whatever you want to say. Potatoes did really well. We started getting some potato bugs, and the whole dish detergent and water thing doesn't really help at all. We did picking and, just picking the bugs off, but either way, we still got a really good crop of potatoes so far. We dug up part of a mound and they look really, really good and healthy. So we're looking forward to digging all those up here soon and maybe planting some lettuce or something in here just to reuse the area. Our raspberries in the background there are doing beautiful. Haven't gotten much for fruit, but transplanting, I'd really like to let them establish this year anyhow. Rhubarb is so well that I might be able to get a second harvest, even with their transplant and breaking them apart into smaller sections because I had huge clumps. Oh look, monarch. We're starting to see more monarchs. It hasn't been a good year for them. Even though kind of along the edges of the tree line out there and along the road over here to the left, we don't till all that or bale all of it. It's not easy on the tractor, but also because we like to have a strip of milkweed, and we did put a bunch of milkweed seed out on the tree line out there. We really like all the monarchs, and we really like having a safe haven for them. We just aren't seeing a lot. I mean, maybe it's not because we're over in that section, but normally more of them flock to the gardens. We really try to plant a lot of flowers and a variety of fruits and vegetables just so we can try and get all those beneficial bugs and butterflies. And we're seeing yellow swallowtails this year, just not as many butterflies as we hoped for this year. And over here we got our tomatoes are doing just beautiful and gorgeous this year. They're all starting to really ripen nicely. I've already gotten Sun Sugar and Super Sweet 100 seeds saved. My black plum paste, which I got from Baker Creek seeds. We had some really nice ones right off the bat and they tasted unbelievable. So I saved some seeds from those too. I'm hoping for some more of them to ripen up so I can seed save for next year. And strawberries are doing awesome. Those are over by the rhubarb. I didn't transplant all of them this year from the edge by the house. The other ones have some room to grow. These ones have plenty of room to grow. Next year, where the potatoes and tomatoes are here, we want to start going towards them for the perennial stuff. I have asparagus in the first bed over here before the raspberries. So the left side over here, when we till it all up next year, will become another row of asparagus, and then the rest will all even out so that it's all one big row or bed of each one, so that we can match up with what we got down there. Either raspberries, rhubarb. I saved a lot of rhubarb seed from when they were going to seed where we had them, and they're doing much better over here. But I saved enough seed I can probably fill a huge area of more rhubarb. And it's not like I'm ever going to run out, because I can always sell it or make rhubarb jelly, which is really good, and right now it's my favorite. So I never seem to have enough, and it goes really good on pork chops too. But we got trellis clips this year, and I have a sisal, I believe it's a sisal rope I got here, unless it was the hemp rope. I'm pretty sure it was sisal rope. And so it's really good at and biodegradable. And then some really thin string twine, cotton, that's what it was, cotton twine. And so we can, when we get rid of all the rope, it'll biodegrade quickly and we won't have problems with tilling next year. but I do have to go through and get all the little plastic trellis clips. I still have 2 rows to do, but the plants are smaller, so I wasn't as worried about them, but they are getting some really big fruit on them, and I'd like to not have those sitting on the ground rotting, which we had issues with a couple of years ago. I think I'm going to order twice as many trellis clips, or order another bag of trellis clips, because I want to reuse these ones, but I might run out this year. I ordered 1,000, and I think it was 350, 360 tomato plants, but just for our personal use, I think we might use most of these. We were hoping to sell a bunch, but we'll see how well they produce. Obviously, this worked a lot better than what we had planned, and it's good crops, but I would like to see maybe that whole area that's got the sweet corn. If I can see that whole area with more tomatoes, about the area that big, I think we'd have plenty to sell. And we had our sun sugar and our black vernissage, which is a Baker Creek seed as well. They crossed a couple years ago, and they kind of taste like a really sweet watermelon. And I did not expect that at all, but it is bred true, or grown true from seed for the last 2 years now. And we had one we were able to harvest off of here. Forgot to grab one. I was going to show you guys. It's really pretty, and it's a nice little hybrid for us. But yeah, it's just so unexpected, and it's delicious. But it's more like the size of a patio tomato, but it's got the sweetness of the sun sugar. We just couldn't believe it. Tastes like watermelon sometimes. It's wonderful. Our sweet corn, we added some liquid manure. We have a big water tank that Sean added some compost to. We have chickens, so and he's been aerating that so that it makes a nice manure tea or compost tea. And he went through and put some of that on all of our corn and some of the plants that looked like it needed it. But I think our issue here is that the water, the well house here is got rusty water. So we have lots of iron. And we're thinking maybe, since just a bit north of us where we have the house, the water is pure there. Doesn't have too much calcium, doesn't have rust in it. We don't need to use softener salt or anything like that to make it drinkable or make it usable. And so we might plumb in a well up there somehow and then run it down this way, even if we have to build a couple water towers to run the water into and then run the water from there. We do have a couple big white water bins, food grade water bins. So we're hoping that we can do that next year so that we don't have such an issue. I'd love to have it set up this year, but we're still working on the greenhouse, as you can see. We got all the purlins in, a couple braces that are near the east and west sides there. They're small, and you can barely see them, but those are in. They were easy, quick, and then we put OSB board, or plywood board up on the ends around where the doors are going to be. We've got to finish that up all the way to the top, and then we got to brace the edge that's along the metal. We're going to run some wood around it. We got to cut that on the sawmill today, and we're hoping to have this done in a couple weeks. We were hoping to have it done last week, but it's just between rain and weddings, reunions. It's been a busy summer, and I've been working as much as I can where I work to help float the boat a little bit around here, but we're getting really close. Sean tilled the ground up in there after we mowed it down. So all that's inside of the greenhouse right now is just two apple trees that we had planted there before the greenhouse, which we want to transplant, but we might wait till next year. So they're still real tiny, and I don't want to have to fence all of my trees this year to keep them from the deer. I do have to get mulch over here from my uncle and mulch the bottom of my trees we did transplant, and then we will, I've got some hard metal fencing that we're gonna loop around each tree over here and hopefully put those tree wraps on them so there's less chance of any mice or deer eating our trees, because my apricots are doing so well. I really don't want them to do bad. But I think since I last did an update, We got this side over here done. I don't think we had that done yet because we'd only started on like the raspberries and the rhubarb. But then we have tons of peppers, onions. My mom always has lots of onion sets and stuff left at the end of the year. So we literally have bags and bags of onions. So we just started going crazy with the onions. And when she's closed for this season, it's kind of a free-for-all in the flowers. So she says, you know, give it about a week, I'll stop watering it. You got a week to take your stuff out. So we got tons of them. That pretty orange one that you see in a couple spots, not the marigolds, but the nice tall ones, those are Tithonia torch. Ironically, it's one of the few flowers I'm allergic to because it's got fuzzy leaves, and for some reason those ones just react with my skin and make them break out. But all of the flowers are doing just beautiful, and it's brought in the butterflies, and the bees are everywhere. They really love my tomatoes. And then behind the tomatoes, she had tons of leftover cabbages, some more peppers, more onions. We planted some more peas, whole huge line of peas, which is the extra post back there. And we've got, what else did we put back there? Kale. Yeah, then we tried some shorter season sweet corn way back there in the corner. It's 10 days quicker than the stuff we've got over here. We were just hoping to get as much sweet corn as possible, but we're wondering at this point if we're going to get any corn at all. I mean, it didn't take us too long to get it planted. It's just we got a lot of things to work out here in the soil. The soil's not as good as we had hoped, and we don't like to amend with chemicals at all. So we are going to be, when we clean out the chicken coop, we're probably going to be putting them down the rows of all the non-perennial stuff to start. I'd love to put it up and down the rows with the perennials, the perennial fruits, but the big thing is trying to amend the soil as much as possible. I'd love to get a couple goats and do like electric fence, temporary electric fence pastures and move them around this whole field. This whole field really needs some manure and it needs to be disked real good so that we can get all the thatch on top underneath. We're probably only going to get one harvest off once he does get the tractor fixed. And we really need the bales for the chickens this year, but we're not going to be getting a lot of bales because it's just not growing well. And we had really good rain almost all day yesterday, and you still don't see a lot of really good grass out there. We think if we remove the thatch a bit and till it under, maybe this fall, and then next spring, it would look just gorgeous next year, and we'd probably get twice to 300% more bales. Anything would help. And I think I already had the blueberry patch in last time I did the video, but behind that birch tree there, or is it a popple? I'm bad with tree identification, I tell you. But over there where that sprinkler is, behind the two trees that have kind of grown together there, is our blueberries. They're doing real good. I need to weed them, but we're going to mulch them too. My uncle's got tons of mulch people keep bringing, so we're going to, once I weed it, we're going to mulch that whole area, and so we won't have too much weeding next year. But I'm going to get some more blueberries from my mom next year and try and fill that whole patch, because it's not completely filled. But in between that pine tree and the one to the left there, it's kind of behind everything there, we want to put more blueberries. It's not an easy area to bale because it's kind of awkward, and it needs to be tilled up and made smoother, I guess. But I was hoping maybe like wild blueberries and then regular blueberries, and just filling that whole area between all these pine trees and really giving them a nice good area, because if we can get that and then fence it all so the wildlife doesn't get into it too bad. I'm really hoping to start doing like blueberry festival in Lake George again maybe, but we'll see. It all takes time, and getting stuff established so that nothing eats it over the winter is always a big deal. There's a tree farm next door, so there's always deer over there, but normally we only see a mama and her fawn over here. And yeah, they really, really love my stuff, especially my Chinese mustard greens. And yeah, we're hoping when we get all this I'm standing on the east of the garden right now. So we're hoping that this east side that I got will pretty much be all perennial fruits. The strawberries will go all the way to the north, to the edge where all the sweet corn and stuff's at. But, like I said, I got tons of strawberries to transplant. So we should hopefully fill most of it, or I can get some more for my mom, because she had extra trays this year. But we want to go farther west there. Probably just about half the length of this garden now. We want to go just basically 50% more west. And then we want to, basically there's a kind of a shrubby bush there, tree, you can see there. We want to go about as far as that, and then the rest would pretty much be for baling or animals if we do get some animals, because we'd love to bale my uncle's field to the south here. That has to be disked first because they used to use the top part for sod, so they literally cut the top sections off for sod. So his needs to be disked really, really badly and get that thatch back under. If we get that far, then we'll probably start grazing some animals in temporary fencing around the field. We'd love to build some big chicken tractors, even for the layers, so that they can have fresh green grass all the time. Because yeah, they get grass where they're at, but it's not enough to sustain a regular diet. I mean, our eggs taste pretty darn good if I say so myself, but I really liked it when they had a lot more grass. It tasted a lot better then. And I'd love to get them just grazing this field. I'd set them loose if I could, but we have at least 2 families of bald eagles to the south of us in the DNR land, and then there's an osprey and a couple hawks that like to come out here. We had a chicken get loose and ended up over in the field over here, and it didn't take long before they picked it apart and ran off with it, because both the hawks and the osprey were taking it apart. And it was running farther and farther away from us, so we couldn't get to it. There was no saving the poor thing. But it's just the fact that there are so many predators out here. We've had issues with fox this year, twice. We haven't caught the last one. It's too big for our big animal trap. So it tells me we need to probably go online and order a big trap. But yeah, it killed 6 of my ducks. It was 7 of my ducks, and then 1 died. Just, I don't know if it was sustained injuries from later, and we didn't manage to catch those. Right now I have 3 ducks, and this is the first year we've had ducks. I have already fallen in love with the buggers. I mean, I hope they taste good because I have no problems butchering them, but I just love listening to them quack. And when they were first starting to quack, it sounded so horrible. But I gotta love them. They're adorable. But I got 3 white ducks left. One of them we named Lucky Ducky because he's partially blind, so you know the fox almost got him. And yeah, it's just one of those things where you fall in love with the animal, but you know it's going to be food, so you kind of have to put those feelings aside so that you can put it in the freezer, which our meat freezer is empty right now. So we're probably going to have to butcher sometime soon, at least from the old hens. Some of them, they've been going through stress, I think because the fox that's been running around, and they've got into a heavy molt, and some of them aren't growing their feathers back on the back. And so I know it's probably, right now we probably have a lack of perch space because we have some of the babies out there from the mom that disappeared on us. And we found her in a rhubarb patch. I don't know if I told you guys or not, but we thought she was dead. And then we found her later in a rhubarb patch when we started transplanting it. And turns out she was sitting on a clutch of eggs. Well, she had 12 of them hatch out, and right now I can usually find about 10 around her, so I think she lost 2. But they are gorgeous. And they're sitting, she introduced them with the other chickens, and they're doing fine with them, not picking, no pecking order, nothing. And they're sitting with them on the perches now, and I think because of that we've run out of perch space. And then that's one of the reasons we're having issues with the feathers going lost on some of my hens. So we're probably going to butcher some of the ones that don't look so healthy and stick them in our freezer. Otherwise we'll be making tons and tons of soup. And then we'll butcher the ducks at the same time because they're getting huge. And they're pretty much almost full grown. And I don't want to risk losing any other of them to animals of any sort. But then we've got the regular chickens that we ordered, some hens for replacement, the Welsumers and the Easter eggers. They're doing gorgeous. they're getting close to when they can go outside, but we really want to thin out our flock before we add those in there, because if they're going to get stressed, I'd rather give them a reason, just get all the stress over with as soon as possible. But then part of the ceiling started sinking in our coop, so we have to fix that before we add them in. So all kinds of wonderful projects pop up on a farm, especially when you're broke and you can't fix it right away. But right now the snowplow truck, or the farm truck that we use for throwing the bales in the back of, is down, and our black truck threw a water pump, so that's down. Our little mini tractor is basically your riding lawnmower, except it doesn't have a deck on it. We call it the little farm tractor. That he replaced the transmission, but he can't seem to get the wheels off of the old transmission because it's that style. It's all connected, and it's rusted together. So he's got to actually torch it apart. And my uncle's torch was down for a while. I don't know if someone had ran into it or whether they'd knocked it over, but all the canisters and the gauges and all that were just smashed in, and it was definitely looking like it was dangerous to ever try and use. Well, they got it fixed or replaced or whatever they did. So now we can get that done, but we're trying to work on the sawmill to get wood together and finish off some orders, because we had some people drop off wood and we're cutting that for them too today. Hopefully we'll get that done, and then some stuff for the greenhouse. And I work tomorrow, but we're hoping maybe Tuesday, Thursday, Friday next week, maybe Sunday afternoon, we'll start getting stuff done in the greenhouse again. My schedule here lightens up in a couple weeks because school's starting at the end of the month, here anyhow. We do online public school, but they start the last week of August already. So I try to get the week before that off so I can, clean the house, set up all their school stuff, get it all organized, make sure we have everything. But it's also a good week for us to can, if we got anything to can at that point, and harvest what we can, whether it's squash, pumpkins, which I think I got them in too late this year. I'm not sure I'm going to get much for those. I have some baby squashes, some pink banana jumbo squash, which aren't really jumbo right now, and some blue Hubbard squash, which are tasty. I like to cube them and then can them according to the directions they got on the home canning website. They're tasty, and the kids haven't really taken to it yet, but me and Sean really like our squash. So at least we'll have that. I mean, I still have, is it 14 or 15 jars from last year, but they were kind of hidden at the bottom of my stack of trays for canning stuff. But I unburied them, and we're going to be using them up hopefully here soon, because I love me squash. And my other ones aren't quite big enough for me to pick and eat yet. If I have to, I might have to hit a couple farm stands this summer just to get corn, so I'd love to have some safreeze. But even just corn on the cob, I mean, I'm really hoping for it this year, but our sweet corn is just looking horrible. And I mean, it's nice, but it's not where it should be, and we were really hoping to do a farm stand this year. I mean, I might be able to do one for the potatoes and tomatoes, maybe my jellies and jams, but I don't hold out much hope for the corn. So, but we can hope. We got another month and a half maybe till I probably get to that point. It'll be late season, but if we get anything that help, I'd really love to use it to pay the fuel bill for the year. But or feed for the chickens. But oh, look, there's some more butterflies. But anyhow, that is our farm update for August, and toodles, my peeps.